Hello and welcome to Brewed in New York, a series all about the craft beer you can enjoy in every corner of the state.
Few things go together like being out in the water and beer. And if you're in New York's Thousand Island region, there's abundance of both.
The area actually has 1,864 islands, but since that's a little hard to say, the locals shortened it to just the Thousand Islands.
These islands dot the watery border between New York and Canada. Many are uninhabited, while others are home to year-round residents and seasonal visitors. Some of the islands were once even home to New York's wealthiest families.
Bolt Castle near Alexandria Bay was named after George C. Bolt, owner of the famous Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. It was commissioned as a summer home for his wife Louise until her untimely death halted construction.
Singer Castle on Dark Island was the summer home of the Bourne family, owners of the Singer Sewing Machine Company. Both homes are now open to the public and offer visitors a glimpse of New York's Gilded Age.
I had the opportunity to take a little road trip to Thousand Islands, and I discovered that it's an area rich in history, scenery, and great beer. It's early autumn in the Thousand Islands of New York, the lakeshore region that stretches along the St. Lawrence Seaway, separating the state from our neighbors to the north in Ontario, Canada. The area is a vacation hotspot for boating and New York State wine, but today we're here to explore the growing local beer scene. I'm standing on the Great Lakes Seaway Trail, a 500-mile national scenic byway that stretches along Lake Erie and here on Lake Ontario. Today, we're going to be driving up the coast, stopping off to sample some of the region's best beers along the way. There's going to be a lot of sampling, so I've enlisted the help of a designated driver, Ed Hurley, from the Highway Legends Car Club in nearby Watertown. Hi, Ed. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Matt.
So, tell me, what car have you brought for us?
Matt, this is a 1954 Ford Custom Line four-door sedan.
It is a beautiful car, and I think it's the perfect thing for a brewery crawl, so let's go.
Good.
The part of the Seaway Trail we're exploring today traces its way along the mouth of the St. Lawrence Seaway, from the town of Sackets Harbor through Cape Vincent and up to Clayton. We're starting in Sackets Harbor. This small town played a pivotal role in the War of 1812. It's taken a while for craft beer to really take hold in this part of the state, but there's at least one in the area that has been in business since the 1990s, Sackets Harbor Brewing. The brewery has a great view overlooking the marina, where I sat and shared my first sample on the tour with brewery owners Matt Scosafava and Pearl Ashcroft. And I learned right away that the beer was full of flavor and local history. I am really enjoying this beer. What am I drinking here?
You're drinking the War of 1812 Amber Ale.
This beer is really easy drinking. I'm trying to go as slow as I can because it's very tasty.
It's very smooth. It's not too hoppy. If someone's just kind of stepping into the craft beer industry as a consumer, that's a great beer to start that journey.
And as someone who's firmly planted in it, it's a good one for me too.
Good. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the history of the beer.
Yeah, the history of the beer is linked to the history of the village. Sackets Harbor, as a natural deep water port, became a naval shipyard to launch many of the big battleships that were canvassing the Great Lakes region.
Pearl, tell me about how and why you moved to the area.
Tom and I were in New York City, and we had been there since '96, and both of us were there through 9/11 and, through the economic hardships, and we just said, maybe it's time for a change, and we're both big craft beer fans. This became available, and we just said, hey, let's do it. Let's make the move. Let's go for it.
It's a very interesting building. Tell me a little bit about it.
It's the old train station from the village, which actually was moved closer to the water when it was repurposed as a restaurant. It used to be a little bit closer to the road. We actually have pictures of it as a train station in the dining room.
Amazing. Andy is your full-time brewer here.
Yes. Andy brews 30 to 40 different varieties throughout the seasons, but there's a few main 12 months a year beers, and the Railroad Red, the St. Stephen's Stout, 1812 Amber, 1000 Islands Pale Ale, and we've also introduced a new double IPA, the Malicious Intent. And the name says it all. So
it's aggressive.
It's a 10% ABV.
Love it.
Extremely hoppy.
Well, I want to try this double IPA, and I would also love a chance to meet Andy and learn a little bit more about how the beer's made here.
Sure. Great. We'd love to have him do that.
Andy, as it turns out, is the only member of the brewing staff at Sackets Harbor. And remember, he's churning out between 30 to 40 different kinds of beer each year. That's amazing. To do this, you'd expect him to have at least 8 arms and 2 heads. Instead, he's just got a lot of experience and a real passion for variety. You have been brewing for a long time in this state.
Yep, I started back in '97, so roughly about 20 years I've been brewing.
Wow. And how long have you been here?
I've been here for 13 years. I started in 2004.
So there are a lot of core beers, and I really liked the 1812 Amber Ale, but this is something a little bit different.
Yep, the Malicious Intent Double IPA.
So tell me a little bit about this one.
It's brewed with pale malts and Vienna malt, and it's hopped with Warrior, Centennial, Simcoe, and some Cascade in there.
I love about this double IPA is that I can tell that this is high alcohol, but it doesn't hit my tongue hard. The heat isn't hitting me.
Yep.
It just, I can taste that flavor. It actually enhances it in some way.
And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for something that was higher alcohol, but you get the malt and the hops, and it was nice and balanced and easy to drink.
Over the 10 years plus that you've been here, how has the beer drinking scene changed here?
As far as this place has gone, it's been kind of interesting, because when I first started here, people really weren't interested in hoppy beers.
Yeah.
They didn't mind a mildly hopped beer, but now as time's gone by, the happier it is, the faster it sells.
So this IPA, this double IPA we're drinking is very popular.
Yep.
So what are some of the projects that you have planned for the winter? Very exciting stuff, I'm sure.
I got a porter I'm looking to do, possibly an Imperial Stout. And then once the new year kicks in, I'm probably going to work on a Maybach for the early season.
Cool.
And I'll probably maybe a Pilsner or two, so.
Nice. Do you wish you had 3 times the tap so you could experiment more?
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Andy, it's been a pleasure. I wish I could stay to have more beers of yours, but Ed is waiting for me in the car, so I gotta run.
Awesome. Thanks for stopping by.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I headed north with my trusty sidekick. Or maybe since he's driving, I'm the sidekick. Anyway, our next stop was in the town of Cape Vincent. Traveling north from Sackets Harbor, the highway twists and turns along the coast, sometimes right along the waterline, where the horizon stretches all the way to the wild and exotic lands of Canada. At other times, the road turns inland, taking you past fields and farms. Along the way, you could stop and check out Tippett's Point Lighthouse, one of a number of historic lighthouses along the coast. Today, it mainly serves as a tourist attraction, but you'll understand why they needed it back in the day when you see the size of the ships and the amount of boat traffic here. This is a major shipping lane for all merchant vessels entering the Great Lakes. Minus the smell of salt in the air, you'd swear you were at the ocean. When we arrived at Cape Vincent Brewing Company, we met husband and wife team Roland Sherman and Lori Hanna. They'd only been open for about a month, and you could still smell the new construction. The couple is no stranger to construction, because that's exactly what they'd been doing professionally before changing careers. After the dime tour, we settled in for our tasting and to learn what drew them to the area. This is my first time in Cape Vincent. Can you tell me a little bit about the town here?
Yep. So Cape Vincent is the entry of the Thousand Islands. We're located at the delta of the St. Lawrence River. We're a village of primarily seasonal residents, a lot of snowbirds, so they come here in the summer and then they go elsewhere in the winter months. We have the ferry right across the way, so we get a lot of Canadian traffic as well. Because this is the entrance to the St. Lawrence, freighters come through, they do a captain change because there's a different license between seaway pilots and open water pilots. So they take a smaller boat out and change captains. One goes up the ladder, one comes down the ladder, and off they go. And it's got a very nautical feel to the area.
This is wonderful. What am I drinking here?
That is Tippett's Point Porter. That's one of our flagship dark beers. It's very easy drinking, not as heavy as a stout. 5 malts, 2 hops, and yeah, a very successful beer for us.
Yeah, it's reasonably dry here too, but there's a lot of flavor in there.
Worked hard at that one. I'm not a big fan of very sweet beers, so I like the dry aspect to it.
So you two are like the new kids on the block in the area in terms of a brewery. But there are some other spots that are nearby, and now you've kind of created this brewery trail of sorts, and people are already hitting all 3.
Our dream when we decided we wanted to open a brewery in Cape Vincent was that we would connect this trail that we could envision in our minds. It wasn't here yet. Between Sackets Harbor and Clayton, there was this big gap of a missing brewery. We are pretty much at that halfway point.
It totally paid off. We're extremely happy, and it's going well, and look forward to the future.
You're right by a ferry landing here, and people come from Canada and can try your beer.
It's very easy for them because they can actually walk onto this ferry and come over. There was nothing here, and they would make their way up to Clayton or Sackets Harbor, the other end of the brewery trail. And so yeah, it's fun for them. It gives them somewhere to stop. They tend to start here and finish here before they go back.
Well, Roland, Lori, I have to go and continue my crawl here. But thank you so much for giving me some of your time.
Thank you
no
for
problem.
coming
Thanks
in.
for stopping
we
by.
appreciate it.
So with no time to lose, we headed to the last destination on our beer tour, Wood Boat Brewing in the town of Clayton. Now, before producing this story, we did some homework and learned that the name of the brewery is closely linked with an organization just a short walk up the block, the Antique Boat Museum. And when we saw just how fantastic it was, we decided we had to make a pit stop there before heading in to do our sampling. The museum contains a treasure trove of artifacts from the rich boating history of the St. Lawrence region, including some gorgeous examples of the area's iconic wooden boats. So I said farewell to my designated driver, Ed, and met up with curator Claire Wakefield to check out some of their exhibits. Wow, look at this room. This is really cool.
Yeah, so this is the Dodge Launch Building, and right now our exhibit on display is the National Motorboat Show.
How long has the museum been here?
This is our 50th anniversary,
Really?
actually. Yep, so we were founded in 1967.
That's amazing. And what's the mission of the museum?
Our mission is to collect, preserve, and interpret freshwater recreational boating in North America.
There are a lot of buildings that I saw as part of this campus.
Yeah, so in addition to this building, which we have a small craft building that features things from a dugout canoe to a sailing canoe to a skiffs, and then we also have a race boat building across the street, which features all sorts of boats focusing on the history of racing.
How many boats do you have?
We have over 320 in our collection.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love being able to see these boats up close. They're really cool.
Yeah, and they all have a lot of really unique, distinctive details as well.
I hear you have a boat that's connected to beer history as well.
Yeah, we do. Would you like to see it?
I would love to.
All right.
There's a lot of boats here. How many are in the water at a time?
We generally have around 6.
So tell me about this boat. This is beautiful.
This is Zipper. She is a 42-foot express commuter yacht, and she was drawn by Neil Purdy for the Stroll family out of Detroit, Michigan, and Stroll Brewing Company.
Right, so this was a boat built by beer.
Correct.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, it's great.
And how did you get a hold of this boat?
They donated it to us. The Stroll family, it came directly from them.
Amazing. So someone who comes to visit the Antique Boat Museum could take a ride on this?
Correct. You certainly could.
That's great. How many trips does it take a day?
It takes about 1 a day, sometimes 2 on the busier summer months.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time. I would love to take a ride in a boat like this.
Yeah, you definitely can. Perhaps you can come back later today.
Sounds good. From there, it was time to make the jump from sampling finely crafted boats to sampling finely crafted beer. So I headed over to Wood Boat Brewery. Wood Boat was established in 2014 by Mike Hazelwood. In addition to being the town brewer, Mike runs a successful contracting business. He had watched this building change hands several times over the years, and every new venture seemed to struggle and eventually fail. But Mike saw the gorgeous view and close proximity to the Antique Boat Museum and decided he could make a go of it. So he bought the building and used his contracting skills to completely remodel and redesign everything. And then he hit on the winning combination: beer and pizza. And not just any greasy slab of cheese on bread. The restaurant serves up gourmet brick oven pizzas with crispy thin crust and toppings like pulled pork or Thai vegetables. And don't worry, no classic boats were sacrificed to fuel the flames. Of course, I couldn't have pizza without sampling some of Mike's finest. Nearly all the beers have nautical names, like Pardon Me Ale, named after the world's largest runabout, which is housed at the museum, or Old Town Stout, named after a brand of classic wooden canoe. Oh, that is really flavorful. I love that sweet edge on the malt there. Oh, see, I want that in a pint glass. This is like a tease to have a stout in a 4-ouncer. What do you have next year?
The channel marker. I've named that after the navigational aids that we have, which you probably will want to pay attention to after having a couple of these.
Yeah, because these are 7+%, yeah?
7.3% IPA.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Oh, that is really good. What kind of hops do you use in this?
That is Centennial hops.
It's all New York State hops?
This is 100% New York State hops.
Are people growing hops around here?
Oh yeah, new hop yards are springing up every year, and I get phone calls almost every day. People want to sell their hops. And,
Wow.
And honestly, if they call me, I'm willing to buy, and I'll find somebody that wants them if I can't use them.
The restaurant here and the brewery stays open all year.
All year.
And around here, that's rare because this is a real tourist town in the summer. The place is packed then.
It is. And in the summertime, unfortunately, locals don't necessarily come here as much because it's so busy. So in the wintertime, now they can get out and enjoy, coming to this place. Getting through the winter sometimes can be complex. You have to be really careful. The majority of our population leaves. So economically staying open sometimes may not make sense, but we're going to do it for the community. So
Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I love when the brewer gets to talk me through a few beers.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, we've reached the end of our journey along the Great Lakes Seaway Trail. As you can see, we traded in our wheels for a rudder. I'm sitting here on the deck of the Gadfly. This is a wooden boat built in the 1930s. Museum volunteer Captain George agreed to take me out for a spin. And when you come to visit the Thousand Islands, if you can't find a designated driver like I did, I recommend coming for the whole weekend. So you have some time for relaxation in between brewery visits. All right, that's all the time I have. Captain George, take us out to sea.